Guys, response to that?
Yeah, well, he was not saying much, was he? He was just towing the party line on that, and also on the issue of calling for a ceasefire, not calling for a ceasefire, calling it a humanitarian pause, all of that. So, yeah, but I think good news on potholes.
Yeah, potentially.
I don't know why I'm going to do this, James, right? But we're going to. Emma, the Express, it's a woman's thing.
Oh, it's a woman's thing. Well, I think this is quite important. It's getting really, really dark. Yesterday, it was dark at 4 o'clock with the clock change and winter and everything like that. Around 2/3 of women now say that they don't feel safe going out for a run, going out to exercise after dark. And by 4 o'clock, it is dark. Dangerous, and actually we've seen really horrific cases of people being nabbed off the streets and being, you know, followed and being harassed and being and worse. So I think it's really, really concerning that you say it's a women's issue. It's half the population. This is half the population.
I know.
And around 2/3 of women are saying that they don't feel safe on the streets, which is, you know.
Absolutely outrageous. James, we're going to move on to a ULEZ story now in The Guardian and The Mail this morning.
Yeah, so, I mean, the TfL is reporting a 45% fall in the dirtiest vehicles since the expansion of the ultra-low emission zone. So, I mean, it seems to be working if it's...
Can you get me 12.50?
In its intended aim, which is to reduce pollution. I mean, Imperial College did a study a few years ago which found that I think it was 4,000 people died prematurely due to air pollution in London. Something like 8 to 10 children every year die from, you know, asthmatics from air pollution. So one of the stated aims of the ultra-low emission zone was to reduce old diesel vehicles, for example, and it seems to actually cut it by almost half, which is...
I know people laugh at me for this, but can one of you answer this seriously? James Bloodworth.
I'll try.
He wants to save people from dying, does Sadiq Khan, but if you give him £12.50, you can still drive your car in, and he doesn't give a damn. Can you explain to me how that is nothing more than a money-making option?
I mean, it's a disincentive to actually keep those cars, and it has worked in terms of 45% of people have... There's a 45% reduction in people using those vehicles, so it has... worked. I mean, the congestion charge, I moaned about it first of all, but it has cut traffic in London as well.
So we're moving the problem around. Where have all those old diesel bangers gone? Where have they gone?
People have upgraded to cleaner vehicles.
EVs, cleaner vehicles.
Yes, and where have all those old diesel vehicles gone? Scrap. OK, so we just moved the problem into the landfill. What about all the materials needed to make all these fancy EVs that we don't have charging points for? There are so many problems with this. We're just shuffling the situation.
I mean, it can just
and
be
at
like,
what cost? What about the old people now who can't drive their old bangers? What about my mum who can't drive her perfectly
Public transport
reasonable car
so
to the
good,
hospital?
Though. I mean, I understand in other cities.
What if
so
you're
in
a white
Bristol,
van man?
they tried to roll it out in Bristol, which I think is a terrible idea because public transport isn't good enough. In London, I think it is good enough. I don't think there's any excuse for having this super old car that's causing all this pollution.
Or you could do what Emma Wolf does and ride your bike.
Cycle over the potholes.
Yes.
Potholes for cyclists. Can I just say, a friend of mine who cycles broke... You keep talking about potholes for cars, potholes for vans, motorcycles. Potholes for cyclists are absolutely lethal.
I wouldn't disagree, but I would respectfully suggest you spend most of your time on the pavement.
I don't.
A lot of cyclists do.
A friend of mine broke her hip and her collarbone on a bike going over a pothole. It's agony.
You've done me completely. I thank you both enormously for being on. I love you as a duo. You'll be back next week if it's anything to do with me.
Emma Wolf and James Bloodworth, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now